Hi everyone! Today I'm going to show you a bunch of my old work. So this video is a result of a lot of things. People wanting to see my old work, people comparing themselves to me, and they're like, oh, I'll never be able to draw like you. I'm like, that's not true, because I was not always at my current level. No way, okay? And I'm going to show you, we're going to go back in time. I also saw a bunch of these, there's that meme going around, 2006 versus 2016, the selfie meme that's going around. And, you know, I'm Asian. I pretty much look exactly the same as I did in '06, because Asian don't raisin. But my sketches definitely look different. So we're going to rewind. I'm going to take you back to high school, mostly because I can't find anything earlier than high school. I'm going to show you some high school things, and I'm going to show you some college things. I'm going to show you a few like post-college things, and you will see how bad I used to be, and hopefully the takeaway is there is hope for everyone. All right, let's start here. This is the first page of one of my high school sketchbooks. Man, that anatomy is so on point, and the drapes and stuff. This is something I made for my printmaking class. I actually like that one a lot. But here are some, wow, look at those legs, so smooth and muscleless. I don't even know what's going on there. Yeah, that one's not bad. I mean, my observational drawing skills were pretty okay. At this point, I had done a lot of, I had been drawing for a long time. I had taken drawing classes starting my freshman year of high school. I just kind of drawn cutesy stuff with Crayola markers as a kid growing up. And then I took my first drawing class freshman year of high school, and I took printmaking and jewelry making and pottery and stuff, but I'd never taken a figure drawing class until I got to college. So my figures look terrible, even though fashion was what I was drawing mostly. My observational drawing skills are really what got me into college. Look at that, October '96. I think I designed this for someone's prom. I did design a few prom dresses that got actually made by a seamstress into prom dresses. Oh my goodness, you guys. Look at this. I love this color. Oh, and then I went through a phase where I painted a lot of stuff with nail polish. Look at my epic blending. What is this? Oh, oil pastel. Yeah, I painted a tower of CDs with nail polish, and I thought this was so cool looking. And this is a project I actually did. I had read, what is that play? Agamemnon. And I designed this coat for a homework project, you know, caught in a web of lies, and, you know, all these vines coming around and wrapping around the wearer. And then I'd, you know, draw these little sketches and pick my favorites and cut and paste them down. Look at that bikini. I think that hits some obscenity laws in some countries. Anyway, so that's a lot of, I wrote a lot of poetry. Oh, I don't know what happened there. I don't know what's going on, but these are so awesome. Yeah! Wow. In high school, I did this project where I designed and illustrated the costumes for a play called The Importance of Being Earnest. These were my sketches. This is Cicely. And here's a costume for Gwendolen Fairfax. Here's another one of Cicely. Cicely, I decided, was a redhead. I can't remember if I read that or I decided. Gwendolen was a blonde. So she's blonde in both. My figure proportions are so consistent and on point, aren't they? But yeah, Lady Bracknell, I love how I painted all these gray streaks in her hair. Miss Prism, all these little squares I drew. And look how good I was at drawing folds and drapes and crinkles and, you know, armholes and seams and stuff. Man, I was so good at that. So this was high school. For the life of me, I cannot find anything I did from my freshman year of college. But I mean, I guess that's okay because I didn't do anything fashion centric my freshman year. The way my program at Earnest worked is freshman year, everyone takes the same core classes. So you take like realistic life drawing, not fashion figure, a life drawing to learn anatomy and proportions and gesture, and a 3D class, a drawing and composition class, and a color and design class. So I don't have anything left from that, but I will show you my first design project from sophomore year. Yeah, my flats, so good. And my figures, man, look at these calves and knees. I don't know what's going on there, right? And the drapes, so drapey and smooth, and drapes that make sense. I mean, that's not a bad rendition of sheer. I mean, you can see the navy under the sheer brown. Don't make me explain the design project. We'll be here all night, but yeah, I mean, that's not terrible, but ooh, abs of steel. I drew in there under the ivory belt. I can't find the final design boards for this, probably because it was a really big project and I tossed it because I didn't have room for it in my life. But I did find this, which was the rough draft of my final layout. And if you recall in my design process series, I always do this. I do a layout of how my designs are going to be set up and the makeup look and the hairstyles and the final outfits and all that stuff. And I can tell there are some corrections from some teachers mixed in with my drawing in here. I remember parts of the critique. Our department chair came in because these were our sophomore year final projects. And so our department chair came in and did a huge crit. And I remember two things. One, Zoe, your flats are gorgeous. You are the queen of flats. And number two, if you're going to have a big flowing orange skirt that's like very editorial and eye-catching, you want to see the whole thing instead of chopping it off right at the knees. In between sophomore year and junior year, I did the summer program at Central St. Martin's in London, and it was one of the best summers of my life. And one of the classes I took was a class called Experimental Fashion Design with Jessica Ogden. And the project brief was to design a collection around your favorite number. And I chose 9, and I like playing with words. It's kind of a thing I have. I chose to do 9 outfits. Each outfit was centered around a theme using a word that rhymes with 9, fine, clandestine, thine. And I started creating this timeline of a love affair gone wrong. So everything is fine. And then you have to hide things. And so stuff gets a little crazy. And thine, you know, people start getting possessive. Whining is involved. A different kind of whining gets involved. And I started making the outfits more deconstructed as I went, and I started purposefully messing up my illustrations to show kind of the process of degradation. Pine, I think I literally stepped on that with my feet. Mine, and even the outfits themselves get a little bit nuttier. Brine, and shrine. I don't know whether to be pleased at my 20-year-old self or be embarrassed. I like glued pencil shavings here, and I literally burned the paper. I got a little too close there. But, you know, I did like some of the outfits, even if like the presentation was a little amateurish. So when I was working on my final portfolio for, you know, after school looking for a job, I actually kind of finessed some of the designs and I re-illustrated so that, I mean, it looks like a more cohesive collection, somewhat more wearable, but still kind of portraying that kind of, you know, deconstructed twist on, you know, an eccentric older English woman sort of thing. When I was at Otis junior year, everyone worked on a swimwear or activewear project so that you could learn all about performance stretch fibers and fabrics and how to drape, pattern draft, and sew spandex and other tight-fitting, very stretchy knits. And the visiting designer that worked with us for this project was Roxy. And you can see here, these are my quick croquis. These are my quick sketches. I did my flats on tracing. This is just like quickly done in a marker. And even then, I was just, you know, I do have some shadow tones and stuff, kind of cutesy looking. And then the final illustration. So what would happen is we would take these design croquis to design class and we would pick the best ones to move forward with. And, you know, we make corrections like get rid of this band, you know, this would be the side view. And in our illustration class, we would be assigned to illustrate them in gouache. So here's the bikini with that, without that bottom band, things like that. So yeah, this is all gouache. And this is how we used to do it in college, is because we're working with the same color palette, you know, for the 6 weeks we were doing, was it 8 weeks? Yeah, 8 weeks we were doing this project. I had the skin tone mixed up. I had the lavender, I had the lime green, and then I had the red for the hair color. And I had them mixed up in these airtight little plastic things so I didn't have to keep mixing gouaches. And then, you know, I used the different dilutions for the different shadow tones. And what I would do is I would just do all the base skin tone for all 10 illustrations that were due that week. And then by the time I got to the beginning, the bottom coat would be dry again, and then I put in the shadow color. And then I get back to the beginning, and then I put in the purple. Okay, like that. I would do, what is it? Conveyor belt style, factory style, and that made things move really quickly. And then, of course, my flats. This is one 8-week design project's worth of work. I think I kept everything. But these are the fast design croquis, some colored, some not, that I presented in design class. And again, we would take the best ones and make corrections and then illustrate them for illustration class. So here are all the insane design croquis for this denim project. And here are the illustrations. This is the one I ended up making for the show. What I did was I drew everything out on hot press watercolor paper, about 140 pound, and I painted only the garments, and then I cut them out with an X-Acto. And with transfer paper, I don't know if you guys have ever worked with this, but it looks like wax paper, but it's got like white powder on one side. And you lay it down and you put down your template on top. So I would put my croquis on top, and then I would trace my croquis, and wherever I press down with my pencil, the white powder would deposit onto my colored paper. Because colors like this are too dark to see through the light box. So I would transfer the croquis, and then I would glue on my garments like paper dolls, and then redraw the body where I needed to, you know, trying to work with the line quality. And then what I did here was I took a black Tombow and I added the black to the shadow areas instead of shading my skin tone. And then Sometimes if the composition allowed it, you know, I would leave a naked figure in there. It's kind of going for kind of like a overly thin kind of beatnik style. So I had the skirt, and because it was so irregular, I wanted to show different views, show the top, show the jacket. This was a group that focused on taking the jeans and using them as patchwork to create silhouettes. And I was bleaching and over dyeing, and I was burning irons into it. And then I switched back to blue for the final. That's why the final pieces have the blue. So more of that. This one I was working with crinolines and hoop structures with turquoise denim. And this was early in the stage where, you know, we were first starting off with the denim. The project was redesign denim and take it to a place it's never been before. And a couple of weeks in, and then we're like, okay, now add a white t-shirt to everything. And again, reconstruct, deconstruct, and take the white t-shirt to a place it's never been before. So we had to work with denim, and we had to work with white knit jersey. So, you know, crinoline hooping, and then I was bleaching and shredding and adding crinolines, burlap trench coats, a bleached, shredded, petticoated patchwork trench coat, double-breasted, incorporating the crinoline seaming without the hoops, with the shreds and the bleaching. Yeah, I played around a lot. And they're like, yeah, go for it. Push, push, push. So, and then I've always had a weakness for pleats. I started adding panels of pleats to irregular shapes. And this one I did with a silver gel pen to make that pop. So I've always had the original concept, but I was tweaking it all along as I was working. And then instead of pleats, I turned that into strips of denim that were put together in different ways and then also painted with, I don't know where all my denim samples went, but I had fabric samples for all these things once upon a time. And then because, you know, white t-shirt and blue jeans is so very Americana, I started working with the American flag and symbols of communism, and I was graffitiing Russian onto stuff and using the hammer and sickle, like, junior year. And then I recolored the American flag and did cutouts, and I did deconstructed tailoring as an outer piece item. And yeah, I was going to cut all these into holes, and they're like, wow, you're kind of insane. I'm like, no, I'm totally insane. So yeah, a lot of that. God bless America. And this was like a giant, I was going to make a giant hammer and sickle with red and blue denim cut out of stars, patchwork together. Oh my goodness. And it was going to be a skirt, a ball skirt that went just under the breasts, and then this giant white knit jersey cowl with a hammer and sickle embroidery. Oh my God. This project was so fun. I don't know if you could tell how much fun I had with it, but there must be more illustrations than that. And it was, junior year was 8 illustrations a week and 20 croquis. So 20 design croquis and 8 illustrations a week. And then senior year was 25 croquis and 10 to 12 illustrations a week. So those were the two projects, the two main projects from junior year. And then we did CFDA, and I cannot for the life of me find the packaging that I put together for CFDA. I can only find a photocopy of the final illustration. It was all very military based, and I had all these white leather evening gowns and shredded blue and bleached denim bridesmaid gowns, and I do have the original flats. So I've always been proud of my flats. I did, look at these flats. I mean, I look at them, I'm still proud of them. Front, back, left side, right side. I did them all for all, well, this one I didn't really need to. But anytime I had these asymmetrical bias cut, crazily seamed, I don't know if you could actually put that together. Yeah, and I made all these helmets and I drew them, and this is all just Prismacolor colored pencil. I only know that because that's all I used in college, because this guy I was dating, he bought me 144 set, and I use those all the time. And then here are the flats for the bridesmaid dresses. The first project I did senior year was Menswear, and this was the first concept and croquis and everything I had for the Menswear project, where the guy was looking in the mirror and you saw the back view, and he looked like a freaking thug, and I made him kind of ugly and really beefcakey. And he evolved to a slightly less ugly, more fashionable dude. Yeah, this was not a fun project for me, but I learned so much. And in the end, I'm really glad I did it, because later on I had this job where I was going to get a promotion if I had previous menswear experience. And I'm like, yeah, I've totally had previous menswear experience. It's like, it was this. And then when I was doing a lot of graphic design projects for Vespa, I did a lot of men's hoodies. It was still the truth. I mean, these aren't like terrible, but they're not good. They're not exciting. Although some of the designs, I actually still like them. Like when I started doing this weird feather stitching on t-shirts, I actually really like that idea. And I would wear this t-shirt. I like it. My second senior year project, we worked with Michelle Mason, and she gave us a fabric board and the direction was to do kind of like cocktail evening sort of attire inspired by Victorian costume. And so black leather, olive pinstripe wool. I did opera coats with lace ruffle linings. Again, you can see how, you know, you start with your croquis and then you switch it up for the final. You know, I had cream lace pants that got turned into the olive pinstripe instead. When we were doing this one, you know, we thought that a grand reveal would be better. So we put a really long coat, and then pow, you see the dress later instead of the short jacket kind of giving it away. Here's the first round of illustrations that I started with these croquis, with this styling and this whole look. And then after that, I was like, well, how about this? And I really liked the graphic quality of everything. I still like this style, but it wasn't right for design communication. This is more of a fashion illustration style. And then we developed this. We kind of merged these two styles, where we have the thin redhead and we have the graphic elements of the no skin tone and the super graphic eye. And we kind of pulled all those together. A really elegant 10.5 head croquis in this way. And then if you watched my bridal wear one, I was talking about how I worked on a design project with Bob Mackie my senior year. And that project was based on show-stopping evening wear Bob Mackie style, inspired by Mexican folk arts. So I was doing some things with a cotton lace, very dramatic. And this, I wanted to show you guys an example of sometimes things can get over-rendered and then the rough draft ends up being nicer. Like here was the original rough, and I really like that. And then I rendered it for one of my final illustrations, and I think I don't know, I think I over-rendered it or something, but I do not like it as much as this one. Oh yeah, I went a little bit crazy. Here, this is a wedding dress I did for this project. This was the all-white version of the gown I ended up doing, with a more elaborate jacket, like ruffles and feathers and lace galore and like layers and layers and layers of things. It looked like a wedding cake meets a wedding gown. And then here are the flats. And then I decided, well, what if I simplified things and added strands of turquoise? So I tried that out. And then I was doing this asymmetrical twist with lots of colors. Bob Mackie loves orange. And yeah, like something like this, when you are markering something this huge, make sure you have a fresh marker with tons of ink in it, and you have to move kind of quickly and work with the streaks. You know, this stuff is streaky, but it works with it because you're going in the direction of the drapes and it's going along with the drapes, and I have the colors layered together so you're not thinking, oh, that's a streaky mess. It's just, it kind of works with the illustration style. I was inspired by Cher a little bit here. I don't know if you noticed. This is an 11-head croquis, very tall. This was the progression of this, where I was playing with different colors. It started here, and then I added beads and feathers, and then I tried a different colorway, and then it just started getting a little bit nuts, and so I did a white version. Here are all my cotton lace swatches. Whew, look at that. Twirl, 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 dancing round, dancing round, dancing round. But yeah, I really feel like my illustration style has improved. If you looked at how kind of stiff the figures were in the swimsuit illustrations, and then I got a lot more graceful. My line quality is improving. My anatomy is a little bit more natural. And then this is the one I ended up doing. These are some shots from the show, flats. These are the original swatches with the fringe. We ended up doing it without the jacket because Bob was like, oh, let's show a little skin. FYI, Bob Mackie, he does that super catty thing on RuPaul's Drag Race because it's a drag race. It's supposed to be a little bit catty and fun, but he's so nice. He's so nice. This is what happens when you're so tired and it's the end of senior year and you're working on your portfolio, and I don't know, I think that I worked harder on the composition than the actual illustrations because I'm looking at the hair and I'm looking at the faces and I hate everything. I have a vague suspicion that I used the wrong side of the paper. I never sharpened. I used black Prismacolor for the edges, for the outlining, and I don't think I ever sharpened my pencil. Like, yeah. But I really love the figure composition. And, oh, this is a project I really enjoy doing. I always felt that at the end of Mrs. Robinson, what is it? Oh, The Graduate, that she would turn into Baby Jane from Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. And so playing with this idea of wearable clothing, being styled much more editorial for the purposes of publication. So we have the same exact clothes. Like if you look at these two, same skirt, same jacket, just different styling, you know. Same with this blouse and these pants. And then I did the flats to relate back. So here, the clothing flats are really nice, really clean and whatnot. And then the accessories flats. I did, you know, do you remember what are the Richard Scarry books where everything is labeled? I was kind of inspired by that. I labeled everything. Rollers, oven mitts, dish towel. And I painted them kind of loose and fun. I had a lot of fun with this project. And then school was over and I had to go get a job. One of my first interviews was with Mattel. This is how typically design interviews go. You go in, you meet with people, and if they like you, they ask you to do a project for them. And you know, they want to see, you know, they looked at your portfolio and they like what they see so far. So if they invite you back with a project, they want to see how well you design for them. And you might be thinking, well, what if they just steal my ideas and don't hire me? Yeah, sometimes that happens. And it's definitely happened to me, but there's not really anything you can do about it. But I went to Mattel and they asked me to design a Barbie project, and they're like, whatever you want, but obviously for a Barbie. I did Pop Diva Barbie, and I wanted her more hourglassy with a bigger butt and bigger hips than Barbie had at the time, but still very Barbie, very pink, with all these accessories like the multi-platinum album and the headscarf for a disguise with sunglasses, a latte. And I did a bunch of accessories, like I did the Pop Diva Barbie makeup set. And yeah, I took a glitter pen and I did all these little bees on there. And then here's the Pop Diva Barbie dressing room set, complete with flowers from Ken. And these little light bulbs would light up, hopefully. Here is the Pop Diva Barbie stage set. And there's like a little disco ball and working speakers and a little screen of the close-up of Barbie singing. And then all these spotlights would light up. And then you have like a little row of audience seats. And then we have all of Barbie's entourage. We have Executive Dana, who is her personal assistant and kind of runs the show with her little business suit, her clipboard, walkie-talkie. Here is personal trainer Laura. This was my Latina girl with the brown skin and that kind of bleached honey hair. Her little workout gear. And then here is the Skipper doll that I named Lexi. She's thinner, you know, not as curvy as the Barbie, and cute with little roller skates and a backpack. And this is her stylist, Mimi. I don't like how her face turned out, but she is my Asian girl, and with her lavender setup with temporary tattoo stickers, fake eyelashes. Here is bodyguard Mike, scary as hell, bulletproof vest, and a giant sandwich. I don't know why I gave him a giant sandwich. And then cameraman Steve. And my concept was to make him a soft body so he could fold up and hide in a trash can or behind a bush. And then later on in 2006, I entered a Gen Art fashion design competition, the Gen Art Perrier Bubbling Under competition, and I cannot find my original boards. Anyway, I won this competition, but I took photos of the boards before I sent them off, so I printed them for my portfolio. So here's my mood board, and I kind of do not love it because there's just too much text. It doesn't really tell a story. It's just sparkly. The theme was sparkle. Like everyone had to follow the design theme, just sparkle. There wasn't like a long brief or anything. It was just sparkle. Here's my fabric board, and I'm a big fan of creating a fabric board that is much more than just little swatches, little square swatches on a piece of paper. Like, you could do something like that if, your project was very Bauhaus, minimalism inspired, but this one was fun. But this project was feminine and flirty, and I wanted to show the fabric, what I was doing with it, adding rhinestones. So I was taking bows and making bigger and bigger bows until they fell apart into ruffles and then rhinestoned everything. I did silver and gold thread, like plaid. I sewed in with these metallic threads all over a wool, and then I pleated it and I left the edges frayed. I made little bows out of rib knit and rhinestoned them, and then I took rhinestones and I glued in a chain link pattern to a wool. I had chains everywhere and then pearls attached to chains, and then I had these white shirting with tucks running through it. Here are the illustrations, and I took the style that I did with my denim project where I painted on white paper and then I cut and pasted them onto navy paper. And I actually added a couple of actual tiny rhinestones to add more sparkle. And again, it's one of those things where your practice illustration is a little bit better or a lot better than your final. This was the practice illustration for this dress. And then when I got around to doing the actual dress, I'm like, I don't like that as much. Here are the flats. It's not white because it was like a really bad photograph, but And then I made one. This is the one I ended up making. And again, I don't have great photos of this, but Really quick, I did these in gouache and, restricted color palette. I really love the platinum blonde hair and the super 80s geeky glasses. I had a lot of fun with that. But when did I do this? 07? Yeah, I did this in 07. But otherwise, I really don't love them because the figures look really stiff and I don't have enough drape. It's like I was out of practice for a while because when you're working in the industry full time, you're not drawing all the time. And when I was drawing all the time in college, my line was loose and flowing and it was good. And then I got out of practice and things got a little bit more stiff, and I wish there were a lot more drapes than there are in these illustrations. Fast forward a few years to 2011, and I entered a competition sponsored by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. Yes, the Oscars. They had a design competition. I don't know if they still have it, but I was a finalist. You were supposed to submit anywhere from 2 to 5 sketches of evening gown, red carpet, Oscar gown ideas. So that's what I did, and I call this the hurricane dress because it wraps around. This is the gold statuette dress where it was going to be a champagne silk charmeuse with lots of beading and chains draping in the front. And this one was a very simple version, a white silk crepe with a black leather top. This was my prettiest dress, a blush pink with, a train and a little bit of beading. But this is the one I ended up making. This one was everyone's favorite because it was the most different from everyone else's. So I don't know how many people entered, but a lot of people entered and submitted sketches, and they chose 10 finalists, and the finalists had to make one of their gowns, and then they did a runway show at the Oscars, not the Oscars, but at the building, the Oscars building, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences building, press conference, blah, 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 and then people voted online for a winner. I did not win, but that whole experience was super fun. And this top panel is black leather. This is all black charmeuse, and then this is all hand beaded in there. And yeah, again, out of practice, so I didn't put faces on all of them. And I look back and I can see how I should have done the beading differently. Like, I like the line quality, I could have made this look shinier, and I could have made the beading look a lot sparklier and prettier. And I don't like how I use gray to shadow these. And you know how I kept saying, like, use a darker color, not gray? Classic example of that not looking awesome. Yeah, I should have used a darker pink. And with this white, I didn't even use a gray. I used a cream to create the shadows, and I think that looks really nice. Here's one last piece from 2011. I got into, like, I wanted to do some fun projects, and so I started doing these portraits, and this one is inspired by my friend Jennifer, who is a redhead, and she has these tiger lily and fern tattoos, not exactly like this one or anything, but I was kind of inspired by her look and her style and her tattoos. And so I did this with gouache and metallic acrylics, and I had fun with it. It was a fun project, but looking at it, it's like the skin is so scratchy and rough and gross. Do not like that. And if I'm doing a lot of small metallics, I do use metallic media for that. But if I were to do a large piece like this, I wouldn't use metallic. I would actually render the shine instead. And that's it. Okay. You saw my crazy high school things, and you see what my work looks like now. Obviously, most people draw better when people aren't staring at them or if a camera's not fixated on them. So yeah, some of the stuff I post on Instagram where it's not a tutorial, they're probably a little bit better than the ones that are straight up tutorial, but you guys know what my work looks like now, and I am very happy with the progress that I've made. If you're at a stage similar to where I was in high school, you know the drill. Hashtag always be practicing. Hashtag practice not magic. Hashtag if your first one sucks, you're right on track. My first one sucked, clearly. Okay? I just kept going. I hope this video helps you, encourages you to keep going. It's easy to keep going when things are fun, and when you see your own improvement, things are fun. But if you keep doing things and you feel like you're not improving, then things get rough and it's not fun anymore, and it's easy to get discouraged. But I encourage you to keep going anyway, okay, if you love it. I mean, if you want to have fashion as a big part of your life moving forward, keep at it. If you decide the entire fashion thing is bunk and you're going to move on and go to law school, that's fine. But if you still love fashion, keep going, and do not let temporary discouragement, bad moods, and setbacks hold you back from your long-term goals. Hit the like button if you found this video helpful. Subscribe, share, all those great things. Anyone needs a good laugh or a pick-me-up, show them this video. Be like, look at how Zoe drew in high school. Good times. Okay? And I'll see you in the next video.